Welcome back to Inside Nashville, where our guest today is the multi-talented, multifaceted Tim Dubois. We've already had a good conversation thus far. At the very end of our last segment, we began to talk about a thing that I know you've developed called Feed the Fire, which is about leadership. Before we get into that, though, I want to go back. There was a book written several years ago, Jim Collins' Good to Great, and its basic premise was that healthy companies over the long term are really built on a great, strong cultural foundation, customer-oriented product development effectiveness, and not this charismatic leader. And I wanted to get your thoughts about that. I mean, in the world that you come from, in the world that we come from, you read a Steve Jobs book and you wonder, would Apple be Apple if it had not been for this maniacal leader like Steve Jobs? And it seems you were hired by Clive Davis, who's legendary in that sense. Do you think that idea of purely the foundation without the charismatic leader is that applicable to the music industry? And then from that, just take it on into some of the work you've done with leadership development.
Well, I think creative companies are different in many ways. Well, one thing is it takes an understanding of the creative process and the fact that creativity doesn't happen in nice little quarterly increments. I describe it as creativity is lumpy. Okay, it happens and we can't exactly explain why it happened, and sometimes it comes real fast, and then sometimes there are big valleys between those nice little bursts of creativity. And so it takes someone and it takes a company that is aware of that, and you can't start putting pressure on people to meet quarterly numbers without destroying their spirit.
That doesn't stop them from doing that.
No, you're always going to do it, but one of the great things about Clive is he fought it, and he just, you may remember in some of the label head meetings that we had to go to, I mean, if he didn't think something was ready to come out, it didn't matter if Michael Dorneman thought it needed to come out or not. He basically waited on it. And I got a lot of that from me. I mean, it's one of the things that he preached to me early on. I think that's also one of the reasons that some of the great creative companies of all time, like A&M Records and Warner Brothers, in the early stages, it was private equity money or privately held, and they didn't have that drive a stock price mentality. They were able to wait things out, wait till Bonnie Raitt really was a star, you know, and not walk away from it.
Well, let me interrupt you on that for a second, because that's a really good point, and that's something that I've been seeing, and we talk about new models. A lot of the guests, we're under a lot of pressure, the industry is, and new models. Do you think that's a part of the success that a company like Big Machine is experiencing in Nashville right now, because it's not owned by a major media company, and it is a privately owned venture company?
Yeah, I think that's some of it. There's some flexibility there, and there's an ability to build a team that succeeds together. That's enough in and of itself. You're not really thinking about stock prices. You're not really thinking about sometimes, unfortunately, you're not thinking about profitability. As you know, you get caught up in the moment. But that's one of the things that I think is great about a creative team, when you start to win and there's enough going on that, you know, the pressure's off. And I used to joke a lot about people would give me grief about keeping some of the artists that I kept for a long time. My good friend, who I still believe the world would be a better place if every home in America had a Leroy Parnell album in it. But the reason I could have a Leroy Parnell was because I had an Alan Jackson, and because I had a very tolerant boss in Clive. I don't know if Clive was that tolerant or he was just busy with other things, but once we showed him that we had our stuff together, why, he pretty much left us alone, and we had enough successes to offset those failures and have a spirit of winning for a long, long time.
So take all that and translate that into this idea of Feed the Fire. I know you're a professor at Vanderbilt at the Owens School and the business school there, and you've put a lot of these kind of thoughts together. So talk to us a little bit about this curriculum, I guess, that you've developed over time.
Well, it's more just talking points. I do quite a little bit of public speaking, and it's for all kinds of different groups. I've done it for leadership music. I've done it for all kinds of music places, but I've also done it for Conoco. I went to Oklahoma State and did a talk to them about leadership in times of change and things like that. But again, for me, it's just playing on my experiences and my inner self as a creative person myself, realizing that creative people are just different. They don't operate well with a strict set of rules. They operate better with an encouraging and nurturing environment. You know, I have a little set of Tim's rules of how you do this, and I was always known and still am known as a ready, fire, aim kind of guy. I like for people to bring me ideas and basically let's try it, and if it doesn't work, well, we'll adjust the course, or we'll fail, and we'll fail quick. And that was a lot of what went into Arista early on. Is I had a rule that you couldn't propose something to me in a memo. You had to come in and tell me what you wanted to do. And if I liked what you were doing, I'd say, well, let's go do it. Let's go try it. Show me what it's going to cost, and let's go try it.
Right.
And paper was to document results, not document ideas. I just want to talk it through. We used to have one meeting a week where we basically everybody got a chance to put everything in. We had in the same room promotion. Everybody in the company, the label head or the person in charge of that department was in there. It's always my experience that some of the best ideas for promotion came out of creative services and vice versa, you know, and it was just one of those things that we're in this together. The only thing is that we win, and we tried real hard to make it feel that way. But a few of my rules are refuse to work with jerks whenever possible.
Okay.
And that's a really important rule when you get right down to it. If you have somebody who is a constant jerk, then you need to ask them to go find something else to do.
Right.
And you know, luckily, if you provide the right environment, why some of those jerks quit being jerks, you know, and they don't have to be there.
You rehabilitate
You
them.
do. And another thing I think is to have that belief in your heart, which I do, that everybody has just a tremendous amount of good in there that you need to help them bring out, whether it's creative or nurturing other people or whatever, and just to believe in them as people. And when you quit believing in someone, then you need to help them go somewhere else.
Right.
You don't need to sit there and keep them on just because they've been there for 5 years or whatever. I'm trying to think of a lot of my other, one of my other rules was I'll bend over backwards to help you achieve your goals, but I won't bend over forwards. Another one, another one was that, you know, if you don't trust someone, if you just don't trust them, then they don't need to be a part of your organization. And I've been guilty of that myself and caught it a couple of times where I realized I was 2 to 3 years into a relationship with someone that I just didn't really trust them. And I didn't, you know, and once I came to that realization, was able to sit down with them and help them find somewhere else to go, why it was a good thing for me and for them and for the company as a whole. Creative people need to be nurtured and encouraged. They need to feel that it's okay to fail. You have to empower them and let them go with the idea. And if they screw up, then you have to take the bullet because they're doing what you asked them to do. Go try things, go experiment with things.
Feed the fire. Those are great points. And I appreciate you sharing those with us. I look forward to getting some more of the details.
Well,
about that at a
as soon
later
as
time.
I finish the book, I'll be back. So.
Okay. You're with us on Inside Nashville with our guest, Tim Dubois, and we'll be right back.